the Interrobang. I'm Gracia Espinosa, and welcome to the last episode of the Red Cats podcast, summer edition, eh? Don't forget, folks. And today, for this special episode, we have our editor of the Interrobang, Hannah Theodore.
Thank you for having me back for our final episode. We are here on the grass for no other reason than just that we wanted to be.
No, she's the reason that we are here.
This was planned always that we would be here on the grass. It worked out that this is where we get to have our last summer episode here, like outside, embracing probably like the last little smooch of summer.
The show must go on, right?
Yeah, of course. And it's nice. This is very nice. We don't have the couch. We don't have our set, but it's I like it. We're comfortable.
No, we are comfortable.
We're in the shade.
Yeah.
No one's getting a sunburn.
No, not yet.
Not yet.
So for this episode, I have here the script, but I said, forget the script. We are going to flew,
Yeah. We're just hanging
conversation.
out.
Yeah.
We're just hanging out in the grass.
So I would like to know how was the podcast during this summer?
It's like a performance
you.
review.
Yeah.
Well, Gracia.
Your feedback. I need your feedback.
I had a lot of fun with the podcast this summer. I feel like for people who've been watching consistently, I feel like having us like every other week, I hope you guys enjoyed that because it's always fun for us to just like sit and catch up. I love listening to podcasts where I just feel like I'm hanging out with two people. I feel like I'm just kind of like sitting in on a conversation. And I really think that like that was the vibe. You had some great guests from the FSU.
It's true.
We highlighted a lot of like really awesome talent that, people we work with every day, but that, students might not know. I really liked you bringing on like Mauricio and all of our events coordinators, Tyler with the esports. So like it was kind of like a crash course on FSU, I feel like. So I think that's a neat kind of like opening experience for people that are curious about what goes on here, right?
But I would like to say that it was because one of the most important things that you told me for the podcast during the summer, it was, I don't want that you follow like, a specific calendar or a script. You want that you find stories. People who are stories. And I was trying to do that all the summer. One of my favorite episodes, for example, was when Paula talked about her company, and she talked about she was a student too. She started as a graphic designer, and I like very much that episode. And for sure Mauricio, and I could tell him in person that I love the covers that you did for the Interrobang, for our magazine too.
Yeah, Mauricio's amazing. Mauricio's been in our office. He was with us last year, and then now he was with us all through the summer as well, and he's going to be continuing into the next school year as well. He spent such a big part of this summer working on the FSU Forest Friends, which honestly, that was our first week of working together. We were trying to think of some projects for him to keep him busy throughout the summer because we're not printing a paper.
The same like me, no, not in person. I mean,
right.
You could text him, or you could perhaps in our traditional Christmas dinner or lunch.
So we when we first met, because Mauricio had been doing these political cartoons last year for the paper, so we had met early on in the summer to say okay, let's maybe see about working ahead on some of these political cartoons for when we go to print in the fall. And then I was saying to him, well, and also we have this free comic space in the Interrobang now because Brianna, who had been doing our comics, she had a comic strip that was in the last 2 volumes of Interrobang. She graduated. So we had this free space where we're like, okay, we need to fill this with another comic artist. I was like, Mauricio, you are so good at coming up with characters, and I know that's kind of what he's interested in pursuing, right? He wants to work in animation, and he wants to, he loves designing characters and coming up with character personalities. So I was like, okay, does this interest you to make a comic strip that we can do every issue? And he was super into it, and just through collaboration and conversation, we developed these cast of characters which he kind of like spearheaded. He was very open to our thoughts and what we might want, but like the characters' personalities, the look of them, like that was all, it just came out of his brain. And so being able to highlight them on the podcast, and then also all through this next year, you're going to see so much of FSU Forest Friends. Like we've got a full spread of them in the Navigator. They're going to be in every issue of Interrobang.
I think we can say the official date for our first newspaper now for the new scholar year is going to be August 30th.
Yeah.
So August 30th, all of you can read our newspaper in paper, not only on the website. And the Navigator, when is going to be for everyone?
Navigator will probably be going out at the same time as the paper. So we'll do like a big distribution day on that day that we get our papers.
Because these ladies not only write the articles, they deliver the newspapers across the campus.
And so my fiance says I have a paper route, which is true. I have a paper route.
Oh, that's so cute, paper route.
So August 30th, so that when you come here, if you're just starting school in September, the first day of school or orientation day is September 3rd.
September 3rd and 4th too.
Yeah. So
Tuesday and Wednesday.
Yeah. So everyone will be coming back that first week. So we like to have all of our publications out on the shelves before the students get back. So when you're here on your first day, you'll have tons of stuff. You'll have the new edition of the Navigator, which is taking a kind of different shape this time around. Folks that are familiar with past editions of the Navigator, it's historically been kind of like a London tourism kind of magazine. And it kind of still has that vibe, like it's still like a student lifestyle magazine, but this edition is focusing specifically on Fanshawe and specifically on like the FSU. So if you're coming to college and it's your first time, or maybe you're a second-year student and you're not super familiar still with like what the FSU does, your role in the FSU, right? A lot of students don't realize, like if you're a full-time post-secondary student at Fanshawe, you are a member of the FSU, right? You have voting powers. You can go to the AGMs. You can vote in our elections. You have power. You have a voice, right? But the first step to like knowing that is just being educated on what the FSU does. So that was the mentality with this Navigator. So there's a lot of cool content, yes, about orientation, but also just about like what the FSU can do for you and how you can get involved.
And at the same time, I would like to say this to the students of broadcast journalism or people who are looking for stories for their assignments. One of the best resources is the newspaper. I mean, you can find good stories for your assignments too, because we try not only to compile stories, local stories, local news. We try to find here people who are doing amazing things right now. I'm writing an article about a project, to support people who are homeless. Fanshawe is implicated in that project, not only in the city, in St. Thomas. So it's super interesting to know about that the students of Urban, I don't remember the program.
The urban planning.
They are collaborating in the designing of these houses.
Yeah, this is the cool thing about the newspaper. Whether you're a student or if you're a staff member, if you work for the FSU, if you're involved in anything related to campus life, like you're not going to find a news outlet that is more focused on life at Fanshawe. Like everything we do is going to come back to that. There are local news sources that relate to like London news. But if you want like campus news and if you want to be able to know what's going on at this college, like Interrobang is kind of the thing. So if you want to be informed, right? If you want to see really cool things that are happening at your college, this is the spot, right? And the physical paper really is the best way to catch up with what's going on. I'm really proud of the fact that we're still printing a physical paper. I talk about it all the time, but like we still aren't able to use Instagram or Facebook because of the meta block. So if you want to get in touch with us, like truly, like our website is great and super direct, but the physical paper is such a great resource and you get to hold it in your hands. And I just think that's really cool.
Yeah, because we receive emails from students who, hey, I think I'm doing something super cool. For example, this student who did a program with UN. I remember one of the articles. She emailed us.
Yeah.
So it will be great to hear about you or ideas in.
Yeah, this is a great point, right? Like, we love highlighting student stories. We love highlighting student success stories. You know, again, there's not many publications that are going to focus specifically on the successes of young people and just like the cool stories that like students are involved in. So we are always open to story tips, news tips, ideas. If you want to just like use this outlet, right, to have your story be heard, like that is what we're here for. So yeah, 100%. Keep us in mind. Like, I still think there's something really cool about seeing your name in print, right? Even if you're a writer for the Interrobang, right? Like, there's nothing really much cooler than seeing your byline, right?
Because the sections that we have is news, culture, sports, articles for opinion,
Yep.
to criticize or perhaps to give a different point of view.
Well, and this is the other piece too, right? Like, you can reach out to us with news tips and ideas if you want us to pursue a story, but I'm also always open to submissions, right? Letters to the editor. If you have an opinion about something and you want to, you know, verbalize it somehow, like, this is kind of the place to do it, right? And I mean anything. Like, if you're upset about something going on campus, you know, if you, like me, think that like Oxford Street and First Street is a pedestrian death trap, like, write an article about it. Talk to me about it, right? If you have that opinion, probably a bunch of other students have the same opinion, right? So that's the cool thing about the paper, is that like it's a fully independent voice, right? Yes, we operate under the FSU, but like we are not necessarily associated with them in every way, right? We have to remain independent. So if you want to use that opportunity, like, this is kind of the place for it.
And I can give you topics that perhaps we have sensitive topics. We talk, for example, about the Fancy College will need a center to take care of the children of the students. Or we talk about the housing crisis here in London.
Yeah. This is the thing, right? Like, you can get your news about Fanshawe from Fanshawe, but it's always going to be, you know, it's never going to be critical, right? And Fanshawe has great news sources that they operate through their like corporate communications, which is great if you just want to like get the gist of what's going on. But what we get to do as journalists is ask questions, right? And the things the college might not want to talk about is the fact that students are not allowed to bring their children to classrooms anymore, and there's no daycare center on campus anymore. So where are people supposed to leave their children, you know, if there are students with kids, right? That's a conversation that like we get to have.
We talk about the newspaper, that we have a lot of topics, the podcast, this episode that we are doing, but at the same time we have a YouTube channel.
Yeah.
So there are stories that you can read them, but sometimes you can watch the stories.
100%. The visual piece is so fun to like keep expanding that. Again, because we don't have Instagram, like the YouTube channel is kind of the spot if you want to be able to see that multimedia content. I'm really excited to be getting some new students starting to like work here in the fall. And like the postings are still up. So if you are interested in working with us, like, please apply. This is the time. Because we have so many cool opportunities in terms of like getting out there and doing video news stories. We like to keep some things consistent, right? Like the podcast, like our news roundups, but there's nothing cooler than actually like getting students out there to cover a story in person, on camera, right? I just think that's a whole other skill set. And it's just another way to kind of get informed, right? Just go to our YouTube channel and see what's going on.
And one of the good things of this of the Interrobang is we try to not only that you can see the names or our pictures in each article, we try to be more accessible. We can to the people, because you can say hello, or you can, hey, I read your article but I didn't like, or I mean, I always try because I'm going to try always to talk with people if you have an idea, or if you want to talk with me in person, or we are in the second floor of the student function student center
student center
building. So
we want to feel, and this is the vibe, right? Like almost everyone who contributes to our paper either is a student or was a student, right? At some point. I've been out of it for a few years now, but like the students that we employ and like the part-time students that come through, like they really are the lifeblood of the direction of the paper. And all I ever want is for the paper to reflect the interests of the students. Which is why I really rely on like people coming to work for us that are current students, because you guys know, right? Like you know what's going on, you know what students care about. One question I always ask, if you're applying for a job, here's a secret for you. The first one, or one of the questions I always ask in a job interview is what is the biggest issue that you think is facing students right now? Because I think as journalists and as people that are responsible for covering the stories that are happening here, we have to be aware of like what problems are people facing, right? We like to be positive, we like to highlight success stories, but we also need to know like what are students worried about, right? What do they care about? What's scaring them, right? What's causing them anxiety? What's at the forefront of their minds when they're coming into class every day?
Each newspaper is a different issue.
Yeah.
So one of them is mental health. Another one, the first one is going to be related to orientation. We have a local.
We have a local London issue.
Yeah,
and that's kind of that's taking the shape of like what previously we used to kind of have the Navigator be, because the Navigator is going to be more focused on the student union. The local London issue is going to be a cool way to educate students on things that are happening in the bigger London community that they might not know about. We'll have our sex issue, which we do every year.
Technology.
Yeah, we've shifted. So we used to do a geek issue.
That's the exclusive.
Yeah, so and this is tech. We did a tech issue for the first time last year in replace of the geek issue. And I think we decided we wanted to continue with that theme because I think it's so like relevant, obviously, just like the world we live in now. And tech covers so many different areas, right? Especially at an arts and tech college, right? There's so many programs here that reflect the state of technology right now. And student life is just like plagued with technology, for better or for worse, right now, right? We have a lot of conversations about AI.
Yeah,
in this
if you watch one of our episodes, we talk about AI. We have articles about AI for this year.
Yep. We have some stuff covering AI in that issue.
It's our favorite topic. I think one of them, eh?
I mean, I think it's just so timely, right? It's at the front of everyone's mind right now. And it's such a kind of like unknown in terms of like where we're going with it and if it's going to be good or not, So yeah, it's interesting to kind of be like at the front of that conversation as it's happening. The cool thing about these papers and the fact that we do get to print them still and have these physical pieces is that they kind of become like time capsules, which I think is kind of magical, to have like a physical piece of history. And I have archives for the Interrobang going back to the 60s, right? In my office, I can open these archives and read back on stories that we were covering, 40, 50 years ago. So it's cool to think that we're still doing that and that maybe in another 50 years, someone will be looking back on our archives.
And Hannah, we must highlight that the design, it's from students who work in FSU. You are not going to see never the same design, or you are going to see different styles. That's, I think, very cool.
Yeah, this is so important to me as well, right? Is like, as I said, I want the paper always to reflect the students that are making it, right? So part of that means like saying, okay, here's what I'm thinking in terms of like a cover, right, or artwork that you see in the issues, right? I can say like, here's what I'm thinking, but I want to see what you come up with, right? At the end of the day, this is your publication. I'm here to kind of like curate, but I want it to be reflective of what you want to see and what you created. I think that kind of approach as an editor really helps make sure that like, you know, it helps me to not be too like, you know, micromanagey about things. But it also, I think, is really good for the students to be like, hey, listen, like, I'm here to oversee, but I want it to reflect your creativity and what you want to see. And that's why, as you say, every volume has a different vibe depending on what artists we had working on that issue and what writers as well, right?
I think people who don't work in the industry, they think that we only copy and paste the article and that's it. No, you have to design the properly 8 page. So it's not so easy.
Yeah, it's a process every time, and we do it every other week, right? It's a cycle once we get into it in the school year. And people would be surprised at how quickly it comes together. We used to print weekly.
Wow.
I wasn't here then. Well, that's not true. I was a writer, but I wasn't the editor. As long as I've been the editor, we've published bi-weekly. But if you can imagine like the turnaround that we used to have, right? That constant like weekly issues going out. But yeah, it still comes together really quickly for 2 weeks to have a new issue out every 2 weeks, and we put out, I guess, about like 12 for the whole year, give or take.
We have in total, for the first semester.
For the whole year.
15.
Okay.
15.
She knows.
Well, I have to, to submit my articles, so
Yeah.
that's why I know all the issues that we have.
Yeah, so when you think about it, and like that's why it's always cool when you get to the end of the year, you get to April, and we've created just like a whole another year of content and like completely unique issues, right? Yeah, it's really magical. It's always really fun. I'm excited to get back into it. The summers are nice because they're maybe a little more low key, but like I love the structure and like the rhythm we get into with print, and I just love working with students, right? We didn't have a huge team this summer, and I'm really excited to get some new students in. And as I say, please apply if you're interested. We do still have postings up at fsu.ca/jobs.
And if you see us, we always wear our t-shirt of the Interrobang. Not
Yeah,
in this moment.
always.
But when we deliver the newspapers, you are going to
You'll see
to
us
see us with the official uniform, we can say, of the
Sure,
Interrobang.
it's a uniform.
And always we want to say hello, I hope you
Yeah.
like, or I hope you enjoy the newspaper.
Yeah.
And I have a question for you.
Yes.
Do you want to do the same kind of podcast on winter?
Outside like this? My back doesn't like this at all. I'm not sure if I can stay here another 5 minutes, let alone maybe
For the last episode of the year.
I know. Honestly, I actually do. I quite like the nature of it. It's a beautiful day.
Mm-hmm. We were lucky.
We were. And it's not. I mean, when we were in the sun previously, and that it was a little hot. This is nice. The shade is very nice. Our crew is all in the sun because they're troopers, and we love them.
So I think we are going to close the episode for them, because now...
Yeah, I don't want any more sunburns going on around here.
So thank you so much for listening to another episode of the Red Couch Podcast, now without summer edition. So you can watch a few episodes on YouTube, or you can listen our episodes on Google, Apple Podcasts, wherever you get this podcast, and subscribe to our newsletter to keep up with Fansha and FSU services. It's the first time that I can do it without a script.
She's off script, you guys.
Yeah.
She did it. Thank you guys so much. I've had such a lovely time.
Thank you so much, Hannah. And for the Interrobang, and Gracia Espinosa.